if you were to ask 9 out of 10 Tongans today, is the job that's paying you exciting to you? The answer is going to be no.
Yeah.
They're doing what they have to do because that's their responsibility to their family and their community.
Yeah.
But you know damn well that there are kids out there, that there are parents out there that you could go, Dad, why weren't you ever a singer? You've got the voice. Come on, man. Singing doesn't pay the bills. No, singing can pay the bills. Nobody knew how to explain to him how he could pay the bills with his talent.
I love that way. I love what you just said right there. That resonated with me right now. Just listen to what
I know a young kid in my family that is one of the best graphic artists I've ever seen. Freehand.
Mm-hmm.
There is nothing you could tell him. He would draw it with one pencil. And looking at that, and you're like, wow, what are you going to do with that? He goes, nothing. Mom said, get a real job. Why? I had to call the mom up and say, why would you tell your son that? Why would you break his heart? Why would you cut his dreams? Why would you block his blessing? And well, he goes, nothing can give. So I went through and spent 2.5 weeks showing every single graphic artist that I could find out and how many millions they make in drawing cartoons and drawing images. Mm-hmm. I said, look, this person right here charges almost $1 million per sketch. And she goes, my son is better than that. I said, exactly. Your son is better than that.
Yeah.
But you told him no.
Yeah.
We as a people have got to stop telling our kids or telling our people that have the natural talent, blocking their blessings because we don't know.
Yeah.
We only know what we know.
Yeah.
So this is an encouragement to any kid out there. If you have a talent that you are passionate about, educate your parents so they understand why they need to let you be who you are in that space. To your mom and dad, all they think about is doctor, lawyer, businessman,
degree,
educator. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But if that's not where your passion is, if that's not what you want to be on your damn tombstone, stop killing yourself. Stop blocking your blessing. It is now the burden is on you to teach your mom and dad. Hey, mom, dad, I actually want to be a chef. You want to go cook for who? You don't even cook for us. That's because all your parents heard was you want to be a cook.
All right. What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Kava Club podcast. We share healthy conversations, experiences, apply knowledge, and stories, to promote happiness, love, success. You guys already know who I am. My name is Will. I'm the host of this show. If you guys watching this and tuning in for the very first time, so say thank you so much for tuning in. Please show some love, like and subscribe to my channel. Everybody that's been watching, been subscribing, thank you so much for all the love, all the positive feedback. Keeps me going, keeps the inspiration going for me. But I'm excited today, y'all. I'm very excited today. I have a very special guest on my show. It took a while, a little bit to get him on here, but I'm grateful he's here. Have him here today for you guys to share his life story. For all you guys out there that's listening, been watching to my channel. But allow him to introduce himself real quick. It's all you.
Appreciate it. First of all, thanks, Will, for reaching out and inviting me to be a part of this. My legal name is Paulo Maloni Faleapuna Ilolahi Tuivai. That's actually what's on my birth certificate. Most people know me as Paul or Maloni or Malin. My better known as name has been Big Paul for nearly 3 decades. I went through, just like everybody else went through, a name change or a rebranding, I should say, in October of 2020, where I swapped out the name Big Paul for Mighty Paul. So that is now my new moniker. It took me a while to embrace, but I had some branding experts who are a lot smarter. You might want to change your name. And so, and I didn't realize at the time the name change led to some weight loss and led to me changing some habits. But I think the biggest thing that it's made me realize is that I can evolve, and I don't have to constantly be that person. So in a world of change, the
Mhm.
name change almost gave me permission to also change.
Yeah.
So I kind of was able to change. It was uncomfortable at first because I'm so used, and having all my friends and stuff, having to remind them, Mighty Paul, nah, Mighty Paul. Damn it, you're Big Paul. But it's just like anything else. When you need something to change it, you go through a period of change resistance.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's uncomfortable, but if you keep your direction and your focus, you'll get there at the end. So that's my name, and that's what I'm standing by. So again,
All
Will,
right.
it's a pleasure to be here.
I appreciate it, Brother Paul. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And I know we talked about before for a lot of people. I met you for the first time on Kava Talks. You hosted a session where Polynesian men can talk about. And I remember the first time I met you, I know you're a Mighty Paul, but I felt that love, felt that mighty big love from you. So I'm very grateful for this opportunity. So I guess we'll get started, Brother Paul. I know my audience, a lot of people don't know who you are. So can you give a quick synopsis of your life story, your background, how'd you grow up, so that way people get to know who you are?
I was born in Nuku'alofa, Tonga, and my parents moved out here. I'm going to date myself, but moved out here in the late '60s, and we settled in Menlo Park,
Okay.
up in the Bay Area, in San Francisco Bay Area.
Mhm.
And for the first 7 years of my life, I grew up in the Bay, and then we moved back to Tonga, where I lived there for another 7 years and learned the language and the culture.
Mhm.
The way it was shared with me was, I was told we were going back to learn the language and the culture, and I enjoyed it. It was exciting, as a kid, a 7-year-old
Mhm.
kid. I attended Tonga Side School, and then I ended up getting into Tonga High School, and those were my preteen years. It wasn't until later that I found out that the reason we did go back to Tonga wasn't for the language and the culture. In fact, we were deported. We were overstayers,
Oh.
and in order to come back into the United States, and I'm just being bluntly honest with you,
Yeah.
in order to come back into the United States, you had to have been out of the country for at least 7 years before you can refile your paperwork.
Yeah.
So I am a U.S. immigrant who understands what it means to be a legal and illegal. I was first illegal, but now I'm legal, and so yeah, that was me growing up in a nutshell. So I grew up in the Tongan education. I was really proud when we moved back. My family settled up in Marin County up north in San Anselmo, and
Mhm.
that's where I consider home for me, in the Bay Area.
No, it's funny you were mentioning illegal immigrant. I'm the same. I'm the same. When I came here to America, I was only supposed to come here for a couple of months, but then I called my parents. I was like, I'm not coming back. I'm gonna overstay. I'm just gonna stay here. There's a better opportunity. And I lived legally, and luckily, when Obama became president, he passed this law for, people like me to, if you graduated, you can get status and be able to work. So we know both sides of the legal and the legal life. So
Yeah.
I do want to ask you. For me, I'm always interested of how people grew up and how that made an impact to who you are today. So, are there any memories or experiences that you felt like growing up that had the biggest impact to you? You were talking about change earlier. Talking about change when you mentioned before the resistance. For a lot of people, it's hard for them to change. So, I just want to ask you directly, was there what was the moment you can remember where you've noticed for you that you made a change in your life that kind of led you to be the man you are today?
For everyone, it's different. For
Yeah.
me, that period of living in Tonga was probably one of the most impactful parts, because it was living in Tonga that I learned three things that are still important to me in my life.
Mhm.
One is I learned the tradition of being a Tongan
Mhm.
and where we fit into our community.
Mhm.
Number two is I learned the value of hard work, watching my parents work. And at the time, I didn't realize that it was an opportunity that was awesome.
Mhm.
But growing up in Nuku'alofa, and I grew up in Fasi, I was kind of shielded being in Tonga High School in that ecosystem. Besides my cousins, I was always around certain people in
Yeah.
society. So I just assumed that was normal for everybody. And
Mhm.
then I think the third thing was it was where I learned the importance of my faith.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, growing up, you're always having morning prayers, you're having evening prayers, you're going to church every Sunday, you're going to church on Wednesday, depending on what denomination you were. It was a routine at first, but
Mhm.
as I transitioned to moving back, I started to miss and yearn for those patterns and things that I did. Growing up without a television forced you to use your imagination. So your imagination became your television. And
Yeah.
then, your little money you had on the week for the weekend to go to Lonnie's Theater, Female Theater, to watch 3 movies, matinee movies was
Yeah.
exciting because you were like,
Yeah.
yeah, some English speaking, because I grew up learning English.
Yeah.
Crazy enough, when I was back in Tonga, my parents didn't allow us to speak Tongan, which was bizarre because we were supposed to go learn the language and the culture, but we weren't allowed to speak Tongan at home. And I got in trouble. I got ass beating
Yeah.
anytime my brother or sister wanted to narc on me. They'd just say, I heard him speaking Tongan, and I'd get an ass whooping.
Did they ever explain why? Why did that purposely?
They didn't want us to lose our English.
Oh, got you. Got you.
We already were proficient in English,
Yeah.
so don't lose the English. But I'm sure, looking back at it now, they could have done it a different way, but that was their way. So let's may they rest in peace. That was their way of doing it, and I that was my experience. So some of the biggest things that were impactful in my life was I also learned that competition that we have as Tongans, and it could be true for a lot of other Pacific Islanders, where your education is
Mhm.
paramount. So
Mhm.
because the way it was in Tonga, you'd have to take a high school entrance examination to go into different schools, and depending on what
Yeah.
depending on what your marks are, it kind of dictated where you went to school. So
Yeah.
I wasn't the smartest tool in the shed, but
Yeah.
my parents went out of their way to actually hire and pay for tutors, or for me to go into people's tutoring programs. Even though I attended Tonga High School, I also had tutors on the weekend
Yeah.
and at nights, Poako and all that stuff, in order to better my chances for the examination. So one of
Yeah.
the biggest pivotal moments, I'll never forget this, was when I took my high school entrance examination, and I made it to Tonga High School.
Yeah.
So of the 160 plus students that they brought in that year that I passed, it was 1979.
Mhm.
Of the 160 plus they allowed in, I was number 8 out of 160 plus that got in. And
Mhm.
the only other girl who beat me, who was number 4 from Tonga Side School, was a girl by the name of Heti Funua, who ended up becoming the principal of Tonga High School and ended up marrying my neighbor in Fasi. So that was probably one of the biggest pivotal moments when I passed the entrance examination to Tonga High.
Mhm.
And then from there again, it was establishing my understanding of the importance of faith.
Yeah. No, and the reason why I asked you that question, because when I taught, I don't know, is your nephew is Coach Turipai, is that your nephew?
No, Coach V and I share the same last name. We just said we're related. I don't know I'm sure we're connected.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure we're connected somehow. But I've known Coach V when he was still a player at UC Davis, and then we would connect when we couldn't connect when he was a coach at Boise, and I
Yeah.
was already in the music entertainment.
Okay.
Right?
And so I did a podcast with Coach V. What really attracted me to him, and also why I'm very attracted to you, and why I wanted you be on here today is of the unconventional path you guys took, that most people, or say most Tongans or Polynesian, didn't take to get to where you are today. And just listening to what you said, hard work, faith, and of course, and I always tell people this, when you come from a different country and come to the United States, we see things different, our perspective. And of course, that everybody today is trying to figure out their purpose, trying to work towards being successful. I remember listening to something you said about on the Coach V's podcast about never giving up. Whatever you want for your life, work towards it, put in the effort, put in the sacrifice, stay focused, stay disciplined, but don't ever give up. But for a lot of people, they give up easily. So I want to ask you, that's one of the questions I always receive from a lot of my audience is like, I want to be successful. I want to do this. And also, I'm sure you've seen this in the millennials, in the younger generation. They give up easily. And then for some people, they think I'm obsessed what I'm trying to do, because I'm trying to achieve everything, and I just don't give up. And people ask me, like, how do you not give up? For me, my answer is, like, I have a different perspective. Like, I come from Tongan. So for me, I've seen that side. So I just can't give up because I already know what the struggle is. So that's just how I'm wired. And I will never give up. I'm going to keep working, keep doing, no matter what I'm going to face. And I always tell people it's a matter of perspective of how you see things. And that's why certain people give up. So I want to ask you, like, people out there that's always giving up on their goals, their dreams, the things they want to do, what advice that you may have for them, or for you, like, what motivated you your whole life to never give up, to get to the point of your life today?
Well, that's a loaded question.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna preface something before I go into that. One is, I always say never give up, meaning that you still have to be realistic with what you're trying to go after.
Okay.
For example, I am not going to be a GQ model anytime, runway model anytime soon, or a Speedo model in this condition. Can I become one? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I can. If I put the effort to shed the weight, have that look.
Mm-hmm.
But never giving up also means being realistic.
Okay.
If you finally hit a wall and you've given it 100% of what you have, is understanding what can I do to continue my effort without looking at it as a waste of time, or without looking at it as a failure, without looking at it as a speed bump.
Mm-hmm.
You have got to realize that as long as you're willing to put in the time and the effort earnestly, then failure is not an option.
Yeah.
There's a quote that I have. There's a quote that I put on my signature on my Gmail account, and that's, with God, failure is not an option, because God didn't create us to fail. Understand that in the first foremost. We fail as humans because sometimes we're not following the path or the pattern that we were given.
Mm-hmm.
If God blessed you to be a baker, be happy and be the best baker in the world.
Yeah.
It does not mean that you need to become the next Mario Andretti. It's possible that you could become that.
Yeah.
But let's work with the talent that you know that you're already given. Work with the passion that you have.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing, now that I've explained what I mean by never giving up.
Yeah.
My biggest advice to anybody who wants to really attain something is you've got to put the time into it.
Yeah.
Nobody, and I mean nobody successful, happened just overnight.
Mm-hmm.
What you see of me in this, when I would go into record companies and I would charge them this insane amount of money I was charging them to consult them or to take on a project for them, they used to say, man, you're charging me a lot. And I said, no, you're not paying me for what I'm about to do for you. You're paying me for the 2 degrees I have, all the years I walked, all the years I had to, figure out how to eat while going to school, all the years I stayed up at night. That's what you're paying for. You're also paying for, because you know that if anything, if quote unquote hits the fan, I'm the guy that's going to know how to get it all cleaned up for you. That experience, that knowledge that I have is what you're paying for, even if I use it or I don't use it.
I like that. I'm actually going to take notes.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, there was a fun story I read a couple years ago of this brand new boat, this ship. It was state of the art. But when they went to launch, they couldn't get it to move. It had all the gizmos and the gadgets and all that stuff, but they couldn't get it to start. So they tried everybody around the world, and then they find this one plumber, a mechanic. He comes in with his little ratchet, taps it 3 times, and then tightens something and says that's the problem. And he said, great. And then so when he gave them the invoice of $100,000, everyone goes, wait a minute. Well, all you did was tap a pipe. He goes, yeah, but it was worth $100,000 to you because I knew which pipe to tap. It's the same philosophy. When you put the time in to become knowledgeable in your field or your expertise or your passion, it doesn't matter what degrees come with your name. Experience will always. I hire experience over a degree any day. Any day. Some of the smartest people that you and I think are smart, or you and I barely have a high school diploma. Yet we look at them like they're the answer to all the end of all end. You're like, whoa, he's so smart. He's so successful. Yeah. But that's because we understand that what the product that he put forth in the market, we use and it's valuable to us. You will find the people who need your skill set when it's time. But until then, become the best of what it is. I don't care what it is. If you want to be a hairdresser, become the best hairdresser. But be prepared so that when opportunity taps you on the shoulder, hey, can you do this? Your answer automatically is, of course, I've been waiting for this opportunity to show you what I can do. Not only can I do this, I can do this, and this. Really? And for an extra 200,000, I can do this too. Wow. Amazing. So my one piece of advice is, if you follow your passion and learn as much as you can. I don't stop learning. I'm in my early 50s. I try to learn something every week, whether it's through audiobooks, whether it's listening to sermons, whether it's clearing my mind. Prior to this podcast, I'm part of a men's group where I immerse myself in just being around brilliant people, hoping that some of that stuff rubs off on me. So that's my one piece of advice. You've got to spend the time. There is no shortcuts to success. And there is no, Coach V says something that I really like, is like, there's no failure, there's only learning experiences.
Yes. Yeah, I know based on my conversations with people, and especially in this, I guess, generation, people are just expecting this to happen overnight. Everything's fast now, fast food, fast delivery, everything's
we live in a microwave society.
1
minute. If I can't get it in 60 seconds, I don't want it.
The instant gratification society today.
If it doesn't come in 60 seconds, or if it doesn't come in 140 characters, it's too long for me to read.
Yeah. I feel like so many people today, especially the younger people, they've adopted that mentality, that perspective that everything they're trying to do is always trying to find the fastest way. And that they like to understand the perspective that everything's, and of course, social media, all we see is all these people, they always say, success, fastest, but they don't realize there's a lot of work that goes behind it, which brings me to my next question. So, once you've, as you said, in order to put in the work, put in the effort, So one of the biggest questions I do hear from a lot of people is trying to figure out what their passion is, what their purpose is, like what they really want to do. And I was looking at your social media page. I know you're an entrepreneur. You have so many projects that you're working on, in music, entertainment, the Lenovo brand influencer. There's hopefully I'm reading this right. The Qplea card, Qplea card, Qplea card, Epco, Primrose, Coffee Blanket. So there's so many things, right? And I know a lot of people always ask me, like, how do I find my purpose? And to me, if you would ask me this question, like what I'm doing today, as far as podcasting, trying to motivate, inspire people, the things I'm trying to do, I would have never known I'll be doing this today, like say 15 years ago. And for me, what I always tell people is you have to try things. Like the only way, you can figure out what you really want, you have to go through the process of trial and error. Do the things you want to do, but just try. And but I'm very interested in, I feel like a lot of people today are trying too many things and not just focusing on one thing. Because that's the biggest, when I do listen to a lot of successful entrepreneurs, they always say the same thing, try many things, but once you find something you're good at, then stick to that one thing and go hard, put in 100% effort and sacrifice on it. But in today's society, so many people are trying so many things at one time. So I'm just very interested to hear your perspective and opinion on that. How do you, for anybody out there, brand new, 18, out of college, out of high school, they're trying to figure out their purpose, trying to figure out what they want to be good at. What should they do? The first step.
It's a great question. And you'll notice that most entrepreneurs or most business people, I have to look at, now I'm going to talk about our people first.
Yeah.
We come from a long line of navigators. We're navigators. It's in our blood.
Yeah.
So what is a navigator? A navigator is somebody that boldly explores and goes to where nobody's gone before.
Mm-hmm.
So once you get there and once you understand it, you can come back and say, hey, I found this spot over there. It'd be good for you. It's not good for me, but I'll tell you how to get there.
Yeah.
We as Pacific Islanders, we're good at a lot of things because we learn it along the way.
Mm-hmm.
The key word here that you asked me is how do you find out what your passion is?
Yeah.
And I'm going to be bluntly honest with you. This is something that just got reintroduced to me as of Thursday of this last week. And I had a mentor who explained something to me that put everything into perspective for me for what I want to do with the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to share it with your audience, and it's still fresh in my brain. So here it is. What do you want your tombstone to say?
Oh, yeah.
So I'll ask you, what do you want your tombstone to say? I'm going to do this in live. We're going to do this live. Start. Remember, it's only a tombstone. It's not a tomb. It's not a tomb discography. It's a tombstone. Yeah. So be concise and precise with your words. What would you like to see your tombstone say?
What I would love my tombstone to say? No regrets. That's what I would say.
Okay, so somebody with no regrets.
I live a life with no regrets.
So you lived a life with no regrets.
Yeah.
So how is that your passion? Are you living in, well, listen, are you living a life with no regrets because you were able to discover things, you were able to travel the world, you were able to help people? I need you to see, you will find your passion once you understand. I don't need the platitudes, and everyone's gonna, and these are great taglines.
Yeah.
But that is not what goes on a tombstone that's gonna mean shit.
Okay. Yeah.
You don't, okay, so he's a man who lived a life with no regrets. What the fuck did that do for the world?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
So what do you want the world to know you as?
Oh, that makes sense.
If somebody was, if you weren't around to write your tombstone, your best friend today, what would he write on your tombstone? That's where your passion is. That's when you will know what you were meant to do on this earth. And that's what you should do. Once you find out what your tombstone is supposed to say, then work backwards so that you live up to it.
Never saw that. Yeah, I never saw it that way. Wow.
You asked me passion. You
Yeah.
didn't ask me what's going to make me the most money. You
Yeah.
didn't ask me what's going to make me the most successful. And you didn't ask me what's going to make me the most notorious.
Mm-hmm.
You asked me about your
A
passion.
passion.
So if anybody who knows me knows I'm a foodie first and foremost. I love food. Right?
Yeah.
I love music. But that doesn't turn the needle or change the world.
That's true.
I actually had to be honest with myself. And after I said what I said to my mentor, he looked at me and said it concisely in 3 words. And then that's actually what I want to see on my tombstone.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm realizing. I have to, everything I've done up to now is now about to, now to become another, it's going to be another it's going to be a huge shift for me, because now I'm going to have to live so that that actually appears on my tombstone. And I'm excited. I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
Why I'm not sharing it with you? Because I'm not ready to share it.
That's
But
good.
understand, I know what my passion is.
Yeah.
I know what I want to do. I know the legacy I want to leave behind. And it's very, very crystal clear to me that everything I've done, I'm not going to say it's been a waste of time.
Yeah.
It's been in God's time. It's led me up to where I'm about to explode into this destiny, or to my calling. Bottom line, it probably is my calling. But in my head, I was in the way of, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do that. I was doing things, a lot of times I did things because I was trying to be helpful to people. And a lot of times I wanted to just make sure we survived, pay the bills. But if you were to ask 9 out of 10 Tongans today, is the job that's paying you exciting to you? The answer is going to be no.
Yeah.
They're doing what they have to do because that's their responsibility to their family and their community.
Yeah.
But you know damn well that there are kids out there, that there are parents out there, that you could go, Dad, why weren't you ever a singer? You've got the voice. Come on, man. Singing doesn't pay the bills. No, singing can pay the bills. Nobody knew how to explain to him how he could pay the bills with his talent.
I love that way. I love what you just said right there. That resonated with me right now. Just listening to what you're saying.
I know a young kid in my family that is one of the best graphic artists I've ever seen. Freehand. There is nothing you could tell him. He would draw it with 1 pencil. And looking at that, and you're like, wow, what are you going to do with that? He goes, nothing. Mom said, get a real job. Why? I had to call the mom up and say, why would you tell your son that? Why would you break his heart? Why would you cut his dreams? Why would you block his blessing? And well, he goes, nothing can give. So I went through and spent 2.5 weeks showing every single graphic artist that I could find out, and how many millions they make in drawing cartoons and drawing images. I said, look, this person right here charges almost $1 million per sketch. And she goes, my son is better than that. I said, exactly. Your son is better than that.
Yeah.
And you told him no.
Yeah.
We as a people have got to stop telling our kids, or telling our people that have the natural talent, blocking their blessings because we don't know.
Yeah.
We only know what we know.
Yeah.
So this is an encouragement to any kid out there. If you have a talent that you are passionate about, educate your parents so they understand why they need to let you be who you are in that space. To your mom and dad, all they think about is doctor, lawyer, businessman,
degree,
educator. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But if that's not where your passion is, if that's not what you want to be on your damn tombstone, stop killing yourself. Stop blocking your blessing. It is now, the burden is on you to teach your mom and dad. Hey, mom, dad, I actually want to be a chef. You want to go cook for who? You don't even cook for us. That's because all your parents heard was you want to be a cook.
Yeah.
Explain to your parents what a chef does. Explain to your parents what chefs can make. Explain to your parents why you should be a chef. Take the time to educate your parents. Dad, look, they even have TV shows. Hell's Kitchen is about a chef. This is about a chef. This is about a chef. Look at these documentaries, all about chefs, and look at the wonderful life they live. I can do that, Dad, Mom. I can do that. Just support me, please. Give me a chance. But don't be the kid that just says, well, I can't do it. My mom said not to. No, your parents are telling you not to because they think you're just making up stuff. Take the time to push back. I'm not saying be disobedient. I'm not saying push back. I'm saying if you're passionate about it, you will stand up and say, Mom, Dad, look, I'll promise you this. I will go to school and get the degree you want. But if by the time I graduate, I can show you that I made more money than what I can make after I graduate, will you let me be a chef? Now you're on the hook to explain to your parents. All you need to do is go become a sous chef for a couple of years, and your parents start seeing the money rolls in. You're like,
yeah.
Huh. And you made all this legally because you were a cook. No, Mom, I'm a sous chef.
Yeah.
Hi, sous chef. You've got to spend the time. This is part of your journey. This is part of your passion. You have got to also, when I say spend the time in learning your craft, spend the time in also sharing the importance of your craft and how you fit into it and how it benefits your family. Mom, Dad, I promise you, give me 5 years. If I can't come back in 5 years and show you this, 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 and this, I promise you I'll never bring it up again. Challenge them.
Yeah.
Get your ass out of bed and go show them.
Yeah.
You live in America, or you live in New Zealand, you live in Australia. What is the problem? Unless you're watching this and you live in actual Tonga, then we have a different approach to this scenario. But for now, for the most of you that are watching this podcast, you have no excuse to get your ass off and do what your heart wants to do. Period.
No, I love what you said, because the one thing people always say, they always give up. That's one of the biggest things I always hear. I'm giving up. And I always tell them, when you find your purpose in life, and you love what you do, like, you don't, even though things can be hard, but it's something that makes you happy. And I always tell people the reason why, because you said it best in the beginning, to achieve something so great, something that's never been done before in your family, it takes a tremendous amount of sacrifice and work and effort. And for everybody listening, if you don't believe in what you're doing, if you don't love what you're doing, if you're not passionate about the work you do, then it's really, really hard to wake up every single day and push yourself to do that work. So if you hate what you do, if you don't believe in what you do, if you don't have any passion for what you do, then naturally, you're not going to put in the effort. And that's why for everybody, whenever I listen to you or Coach V or anybody that's successful, they always say, in the beginning of their journey, they just found something they love to do. And then once they figured that out, once they identified it, and like you said, be realistic and be realistic of what they want to do. And I always tell people, when you love what you do, you don't get tired of doing it. You don't worry about the failures. Even when you, like you said, even when you fail, you learn something new, how to improve your craft, how to improve your skill, how to improve your passion, because you genuinely enjoy the process. And I think that's the key. Like, I'm trying to take away what you said. The process is more important than the results, the destination, the accolade, the money, notoriety that you mentioned before. Just focus on the process and enjoy it. And for me, just listening to what you said, I was thinking about my own childhood growing up, and then seeing all my family, my Tongans, they're all yate, working at the airport, living caretaker. And I remember growing up coming from Tonga, I was like, I didn't come here to America to do the same thing everybody else in my family, because I always saw America as a better opportunity. And I remember, when I finally decided what I really wanted to do, my whole family was like, thought I was crazy. My whole family thought I was crazy. Like, why you going to something that's never been done before? There's not any results. There's not like a lot of money in it at that time. But now I look back at it based on what you said. I just remember when I first started on this journey to the path of what I'm doing today, it was a passion of mine, and I enjoy it. And I go through my obstacles. I go through my failures. It's not easy. I go through my times where there are times where I want to give up, but I just don't, because genuinely I believe in what I do and I love what I do, and I just can't see myself being anything else for the rest of my life. If that makes sense to you.
Yeah, it does, and there's different layers of your passion and what you're about to do. When I became the first Tongan on commercial radio in the United States,
yeah,
I didn't know that that's what I was doing. I didn't know historically I was going to be that person, but I did it because I was opening up a swimming pool one day, and I thought the guys at the morning show weren't funny. I thought I was funny.
Yeah.
So when I got onto radio, for those of you from the Bay Area, I was on 106 KMEL, and that started my career in radio. Then I would meet a guy named Sway, who's Sway in the Morning and King Tech.
Mm-hmm.
That was my crew. We moved to LA, and historically, I didn't realize I was in part of hip hop history back then.
Yeah,
I was a part of it. There are stories and things that happen in music today, in pop culture today, that I'm very much a big part of it as a Tongan.
Yeah.
The first time I walked on the carpet at the Grammys, I was like, wow, this not bad for a kid from the Coconut Island. First time I just all the firsts. And when people realized that I was in security, that I was actually the executive that was in charge of a video shoot, or I was on site with, I've launched enough careers to know what it feels like to launch a career. So from radio, I went from radio becoming the first Tongan executive in the major league, basically music. There's always music. Everyone has a music company somewhere, but I'm talking about in the big leagues.
Yeah.
My first gig was with Priority Records. I put out the Friday soundtrack and Mac 10's album, first album. So those are my two first releases and those are actually two of my plaques that I received on the music side. I've received plaques on the radio side. But then to see me, then my excitement became launching people's brands and products. I launched Lil Wayne, Cash Money, Akon, Nelly, Chameleonaire, India Arie. I've worked with the first record that I get, the first gold record we helped Universal Records. At the time, Universal Records was a brand new record label. It hadn't been around for a while. Universal Music Group has been around for a while, but Universal Records was fairly new when I joined them. And their first gold record was a group from Chicago called Crucial Conflict. Hey in the Middle of the Barn. The song was called Hey in the Middle of the Barn. And that's what led me, working with Bone Thugs and Harmony. I mean, I worked with Sony, Warner Brothers, and all the majors hired me to do their independent marketing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's from there that I ended up, Universal said, we're paying you more money than we're paying our staff. Why don't we just hire you to be, in charge of the West Coast? And that's, I wanted to join because I know I needed a lot to learn. But most of that stuff up until then was just me and my business partner I shouldn't say winging it. We were doing the best. We're doing the best we could with what we had. And from working with Quincy Jones, Tamia, and just some of these people. I still pinch myself that I'm walking into a board meeting and I'm sitting down telling people like, "Oh man, I just saw you on TV last week." And I'm telling them, they're asking me my opinion of how they should do something, and I'm like, well, you know what, I think we should. But these are the first, so don't be afraid to be the first, but be afraid not to be the person to keep the door open. From my career, and I've been blessed, is I've had other people come up behind me that have given me the credit. I didn't know that. And just all of a sudden I get a call from somebody, hey, I got a student in here by the name of Big Buddha. He's on TV. He said he owes his career to you. You were a guy that worked in radio, and then because of your work, they gave him a job. I said, really? Huh. So you don't know what impact you leave in this world.
Mm-hmm.
So you might as well leave the best impact.
Yeah.
Don't be that guy who, if when you leave a job site, they go, man, what a lazy ass. Be that person that when you leave a job, I don't care what it is, whether it's working at a McDonald's or whether it's working at Taco Bell, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Raise your standards to the point that when you leave, they go, man, if I could find 10 more people like him, I would have the number one this or the number one that.
Yeah.
Understand that you, no matter where you are in this world, are an image of your parents and our community.
Yeah. I love what you said about impact. One of my favorite quotes, I think I listened to somebody's podcast, or he said that, add value. When you add value to people, when you add value to the world and become a valuable person, then accordingly, people will find a way to pay you according to that value. So it doesn't matter what you do in life, if you do the best effort and add value to yourself and to other people. But like you said, don't be that guy you leave and then everybody's like, oh, I'm glad he left.
Look, you touch on a point where you add value, but also understand that if you are faithful and you're doing what is right,
yeah,
and you're honest,
yeah,
you will always get paid. You make no money today, you make no money tomorrow, you make no money 3 years from now. But in the fourth year, you made $4 million. You have to look at it as you made $1 million a year.
Every single year.
It came in one lump sum. But we as a people, we quit year 2, year 3.5. I better go back and go do my yate work.
Yeah.
Why? You are almost there.
Yeah.
Almost there. You also have to believe in what you're doing. If you don't believe in what you're doing, it's hard to tell everybody around you to believe in you too, because they can see it in your eye that you're already that you've already given up. You've got to stand up and say, for those who didn't know, I just spoke in Tongan. I said, you already look like a loser. You already is just a number for rotten. You've given up.
Yeah.
So why would I want to invest any more of my efforts to support someone who's already given up?
Yeah.
I will get behind and support somebody that I see every day. When I wake up as already awake, trying to be the best of them. Man, I think you need to go. I have to make a guy.
Yeah.
It's automatic. Let me give you this. I see you working hard. Go buy you a drink, something. We will support somebody who is working. We won't support somebody who just went, hey, what are we eating today? I don't know. Get your ass up and go get us something to eat. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So no. I hope that makes sense, Will. I don't want to. You and I can talk forever on this. But you're mindful of your.
Yeah, the time. No. Actually, I needed that. I really needed that. Thank you for saying that, because I always, when I meet people, I tell people all the time. What I'm doing right now, I've been doing for the last 3-4 years, and I tell people I don't get paid for what I do. I'm just doing what I'm. Not yet. Yeah, not yet. Not yet.
But I'm actually you just have to meet the one guy that is going to tell you how to get paid.
Exactly. So
I actually know how to get you paid.
Oh, I'm glad that we were on this podcast. We met. One of the things when I met you for the first time, it was the Kava talks. And just listen to you and getting to know more about you on this podcast. I know you're very successful. You've done, you're living your past. You've done so many things, not only for yourself, but also you make so much impact in the world, especially in the music industry in the world. But the one thing I noticed about you when I met you for the first time on Kava Talks was how grounded you are. And like, I sense that level of humility. And I love what you said earlier. You were talking about for people, make sure you believe in yourself, make sure you do the right things, make sure you have some, stick to your values and your morals and your principles, how your parents raised you, live a life that's a reflection of your family, of your community. But that's one thing when I met you for the first time, that I just sensed that presence of humility and of you just being so grounded as an individual, as a person. So I just want to ask you, for my audience out there, so many people I do meet, even for myself, we want to accomplish our passions, our goals and dreams, the things we want to achieve. But also at the same time, I do see a lot of people, they fail to stay grounded. And they lose their beliefs, or they lose their they start falling into the material things and of the superficial things of the world, and forget who they really are, where they come from. So I just want to ask you, Brother Paul, in your whole life journey, of all the things you've accomplished in your life, like how were you able to stay grounded within yourself and stay humble?
To be honest with you, for those in my industry, I'm an asshole. I really am. I'm not. I've evolved because I've had people around me that's kept me grounded, but I think it all comes back to my faith. It all comes back to faith.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing who you are as a child of the Most High.
Yeah.
When you work from a position of power, there's no weapons formed against you should prosper.
Yeah.
Know that you should be able to boldly go, that you're standing on the shoulders of people who circumnavigated the largest body of ocean in the world. And they did that. Nobody taught them how to do that. They learned it on their own.
Mm-hmm.
Navigators today still can't figure out how in the hell we went from a dot on the map.
Yeah.
And what's even worse is traveling from Hawaii back to that dot on the map in Tonga. I'm using Tonga as the point of reference here.
Yeah.
If you miss us by 1 degree in the middle of the night, you miss us. You will end up in New Caledonia.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. So when you work from a position of power and knowing who you are, you automatically are humbled by the great achievements our forefathers had. What I'm doing here is nothing but a speck on the roadmap of life. But don't let your humility block your blessing too, because we are known as some of the nicest people, and we let other people walk all over us and get the promotion and move on because we don't open our mouths and speak. So there is a fine line. There is a fine line in business and in your career where you be humble, but punch hard.
Yeah.
Right?
I like that.
But to answer your question, for me, it requires being humble by just requiring you to make sure that you understand who you are and why you do what you do. Because I think one of the things when I first got married, I realized, for the first 3-4 years of my married life, I was still living like a bachelor, even though I was married.
Yeah.
And I mean, my habits of a bachelor.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to join me? That's an afterthought. I didn't plan to go out and take my wife with me. It was like, oh, yeah, damn, I'm married. You want to go with me? You see what I'm saying? There's a difference there. There's a difference there. And I think as long as you understand what it is that you want to do every morning when you wake up, thank the big man upstairs that he's giving you another breath of life. And you figure out, what am I going to do today that is going to be impactful to somebody else? When we work, and we as a people automatically work from a position of serving others. Most people who are successful in life learn to serve first.
Yeah. I love that. So I do want to ask you, in one of the biggest, I do want to spend some time on it. The Kava Talks. I know you had the Kava Talks. We create that platform for men to be able to speak about the many things they've gone through in their lives. We create that platform for them. I did want to ask you.
I didn't create that platform. I ask your question and then I'll correct that.
Yeah. I'm sorry about that. But I just wanted to ask, what was the inspiration of why you made that? Why you made that?
so during COVID, my cousin had been asking me, "Hey, you should join Kava Talks. Hey, you should join Kava Talks. Hey, you should join Kava Talks. Hey, you should join Kava Talks." I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna come in," because it was online. And then when I got in, I was really, really interested. And um, Kava stood for. It had a different acronym when I joined, and then I I helped. I said, "Why don't we change Kava so it stands for Knowledge Against Violence Always?" And Kava was created by
Oh,
a gentleman by the name of Simi Poteki, who attended 8 years ago attended a violence prevention conference and realized that he was the only Pacific Islander or PI in the room. And so he came back and he grabbed a bunch of men from his community, and they went all got certified
oh,
to
nice.
become crisis counselors and violence prevention counselors. And to this day, they're in the state of Utah. We're the only ethnic group that has our own core men working in this space.
Mm-hmm.
So when I joined up, they asked me would I take on being the director, and that's I joined for two reasons. One is, if I'm brutally honest, I witnessed domestic violence growing up myself. So it was something that touched, and it's something we often don't speak about. But it's weird to me that we live in a society, especially as Tongans, where it's a matriarchal society, where
Mm-hmm.
the women have the power, men have the rank,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But it's easy for us not to do anything bad against our fahu or our mother or our sister, yet we can come home and beat the shit out of our wife or
Yeah.
our children.
Yeah.
Shit made no sense to me.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry for cussing, but you can bleep it out later.
Yeah. That's all good. That's all good.
There was something that was missing in there. And that's why I volunteered my time in Kava Talks. And thank you for bringing that up. So Kava Talks is an all men's group where we meet every other week on Thursday via Zoom. If anyone would like to join, I'd love to have you. If you're a male, doesn't matter what your gender preference is, but if you
Mhm.
identify as a male, or if you have male parts, you're welcome. You're welcome to join us. Kava Talk stands for Knowledge Against Violence Always. It's an all men's group where we believe that amongst men, we can be vulnerable as men, and anything that we say or share is confidential. But by being better men, we can become better husbands, better leaders for our society, better everything for our people. And that's why Kava Talks. And thank you for leading. If anybody's going to be watching this, let me plug this in so I'm not. When anybody watches this, when are you gonna, I don't know when you're going to air this, but we have online conference from the 15th, the 16th, and the 17th via Zoom. You can follow. I'll give you the link so people can follow you and to get on to see it. And we've got some great speakers from the community on those.
Thank you.
Yeah. And that's co-ed. That's open to everybody, by the way. That's not just a men's thing. I've got another minute with you, my brother, and then
I've got to jump that's on it. The next one. No problem. That's in closing. I just want to say thank you so much for everybody. All the men out there, definitely check out the Kava Talks. And if you have time, go check out that conference. But thank you for creating that platform for Polynesian men, because
I didn't create the platform.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm currently the host. I'm sorry.
I'm currently working under the platform.
Yeah.
Simi created the platform, right?
Yeah. Shout out to Simi. Thank you so much for creating that platform, and thank you for all your help in doing it. But the reason why it resonated with me, because I feel like in today's society, the problems men go through, we don't really. There's no manual. Nobody talks about what we go through as men. And but the women, they talk about a lot of things, what they go through. But for us, and I'm just very grateful for that. But like I said, in closing, I just want to ask you final words of advice and wisdom for everybody, and we'll close off the podcast with that.
First, anyone can find me or follow me at Polynesian, PAULYNESIAN, against all social media. And if you want, you put it in the link down below. Closing words is real simple. Don't be afraid to be you. And there's a way that you can become you respectfully without saying my parents are too old fashioned, they don't understand me,
Mhm.
or my this or that. Understand that you were given a gift and a blessing to be born as a Tongan or to be born as a Fijian. You could have been born anything else in the world, but you were chosen to be part of this Pacific island community. Understand that along with that comes a responsibility of being the navigators of possibilities and of love.